Oh. Oi, 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 oi. What's up?
All right. We got the Mona Lisa.
It's so weird how it does that sometimes. Like even now when I try to do the green screen behind me, when it's just like green screen, it for some reason will just revert back to that stupid alleyway photo, and it won't do any of my photos. So I have to do it like Joe does it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to keep like your recent photos like in the like queue or whatever. So, hey, welcome guys. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world.
Hell yeah, dude! Right on. Thanks, guys, for freaking off. This is pretty dope. I had my little ideas of trying to do all like the YouTube thing because I just got access to that, and then I was like, oh, let's all just do this whole thing, and then I had a feeling after my test run, I was like, oh, it might echo, so, but at least this is pretty good. And then I'm gonna record right now too on my computer, so um, I can introduce us a little bit there too. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, actually, let me do it. Just do it right now then. We'll just go for it right now. Yeah.
What's up, guys? What's going on?
All
Yeah,
right. Hey.
we got three different time zones going on right here.
Right. Thank you guys, man. Welcome to another Uncanny Mystic Minds. Today we are live with Joe, the Mystical Rebel, Quinn, Man of Madim. We are here making it work. We tried doing live streams, well, like on the YouTube, and I was trying to do this all at the same time on my streaming app, and it was like too much. So we're just going live on TikTok right now because we want to be able to rap with the people and talk with the people, and then these guys are some of the best guys to be able to do that with because you guys come with the sauce, back with the information, and then also very workable. You guys are, in general, you guys, not including trolls, but you guys work with the people who are sincere and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's very exciting. I've been looking forward to this. I'm on like 4 hours of sleep or something. I was out last night, at my regular spot playing cards again, and it was the one of the wildest tables that I've been at in a while because I was supposed to go home earlier, but I ended up staying later because the table was so wild that I was like, oh my God, you can't leave when it's that crazy. And then so
Wow.
yeah, yeah, so that's what happened. And yeah, I don't know, was it a full moon yesterday or the day before? Because that's what people were talking about. Even yesterday, people who aren't even into astrology, even they were talking about it because of how crazy the people were acting
I don't
yesterday.
know. Was it a full moon? I didn't.
It's a new moon. We just
A
got
new
done with
moon?
the dark moon. We just got done with a dark moon.
Okay,
There you
yeah,
go.
it was the wildest. Yeah,
Yeah. Star Guide says new moon.
yeah, people couldn't understand
Quinn,
it.
the top of your head is like cut off from my view. I don't know if anybody else is seeing this, but like
Yeah,
you're like cut
Oh
off.
yeah.
yeah. It's like your the bottom of your head
Oh,
is
there
cut
we
off
go.
for me. Yeah,
Oh, wow,
there.
really?
Yeah.
That's wow. Wow, okay. Interesting. Um, all right. Well, Mandy, you're in the right place because that's what we're here to do. We are here to help you guys with any questions you have when it comes to occultism. So feel free, Mandy, to ask any questions that you may have. Um,
Hell
welcome,
yeah.
guys. Welcome. So yeah, what did you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, a bunch of man, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Freaking one of the more recent videos, I'm pretty sure it was recent. I think that I saw of yours. It was about like the elemental plane of Earth, and then it was in relation
Yeah,
to like gnomes and pygmies. So that
yeah.
was very interesting.
I just did
Yeah.
that. I just did that today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, because like usually it says like how many hours ago or how many days, but for some reason I couldn't see it today. But I
Yeah,
figured it
I
was
noticed
recent.
that they removed that.
Oh, okay. So it's not just me. I thought I was just tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I'm curious about this because I mean, I've heard of gnomes, but the whole pygmy thing, I'm still like, yeah, I'm pretty green on that. And then even like, just like the whole realm of like their realm, like you were talking about how, like, under caverns or like deep, like kind of like when you go deeper in Earth. So like, yeah, tell me a little bit about that because I don't know too much about like pygmies like that.
Yeah. So, pygmies are just the gnomes. It's the exact same thing. It's just pygmies are their classical name. That was their name. I believe that's Greek, and then the Latin is gnome, if I recall correctly. That was just their original term. They would be the exact same creature, the exact same being. Um, it's just the Greeks would call them the pygmies, and Latin practitioners would call them gnomes. Um,
Mm,
Now, as for their realm or the elements of Earth, that one pretty much looks like Earth prior to man, prior to humans and technology and architecture and engineering and all that. While, they can be found deeper, in caves and underground and in dense forests and stuff like that. If you were to travel to their realm, either through astral projection or lucid dreaming or shamanic journeying or scrying in the spirit vision or whatever, you would come across a realm that is mostly forest. There are some desert, but it's mostly forest and mountains and things like that. And
mm.
it pretty much just resembles Earth before man. So that's how I
Oh,
would answer that.
wow. Earth before man. That's super. Yeah, I've
Yes.
never heard about that kind of concept like that. And then so like I guess if you want to like kind of work with them and stuff like that, they're good for like if it's like Earth realm, it's like for I'm assuming for like more practical things, like more sustainable things and like low magic version of things. Like is that safe to
Y-
assume or
Yeah. Things that I would say are earthy or grounded. So money, real estate and property, businesses. They're really good with protection and guardianship, stuff like that. They're good with like on the non-material side. They're good with things like strength. Not willpower, that's more of a fire thing, but strength and like courage and things like that. They certainly help with those sorts of things. So
cool. So it'd be good for things that I was doing like yesterday, like playing cards, trying to, win money against all these other people and being
W-
grounded.
Um, well, that's gambling. So I, mm,
Yeah, gambling would fall under Jupiter because of luck. So,
Jupiter. So
when it comes to elementals, I don't know about elementals working with
yeah,
something like that exactly. But when you're thinking about gambling, that would have more to do with luck and Jupiter.
Mm.
yeah. So you'd have to draw on the planets rather than drawing on the elements. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't see any gambling connotations with any of the elementals.
Especially yesterday, I tell you, dude. Like, what was the dark moon or this and that? Like yesterday, it was so wild that these people were just going all like they made it a gambling game. Like where with poker, you can make it so it's like not like where you're using the it's more like leverage and odds and stuff like that. But with yesterday, how they were making the game gambly. So I was just kind of like holding on
Hmm.
like to my seatbelt and like I'm lucky that I didn't like come out like losing really big or anything like that. I kind of evened out in a sense. And but the way they were playing yesterday was very gambly. Like where man, like it had everybody on edge pretty good. So yeah, I was yeah, people aren't used to when people get that wild and crazy over there, but it kind of happens once in a while. No. Yeah, so I guess
Oh wow. Okay.
yesterday would have been a good day for Jupiter then in that sense. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Just this one guy in particular, like he came and sat down and he had hundreds of dollars and every hand he was going all in blind, meaning when you go in blind, like you don't even look at your cards. And then he was putting his whole stack in every time, like one after the other. So he was putting all our stacks in jeopardy at every moment without even him looking at his cards. So he was willing to
Wow.
risk all the money. And then so in a matter of, I don't know, how long did I see him for? In a matter of 90 minutes or so, roughly, he had gone through almost a couple $1,000s, like losing himself. Like, and then he kept going to the ATM, and I'm like, how does this guy have money to keep coming back? He just keeps coming back with hundreds and like, another one, and then he goes back, and then he comes back, and it was like that, and other people were doing that too. So yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
Interesting.
you think. Yeah, they really liked and like the funny thing was is that he was actually a good poker player in a sense. Like if he just would have played more straight up like poker in a sense, like he probably would have just been a regular good winner. But he was like the eccentric type, and then so I don't know if he was bored or I don't know what it was, or if he wanted to show off, or I don't know. But he kind of went that route, like the crazy route, and then so people did take advantage of him a bit for that too, even though he is good. But if you keep getting wild over there, there's too many other people that are going to end up calling you out. And then
Yeah.
so that's what, yeah, yeah. I tried calling him out, and then I actually beat him in a hand, but this other guy next to me who was after me, he happened to beat me, so I kind of evened out in terms of how the stacks went. And yeah, but it was, that's a part of the game, and so it's not going against the rules. So if it's not going against the rules, he's like free to do whatever he wants. Like that's technically a part of what you can do. So just because
Yeah.
other people can do that, yeah. So it's a thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's not really my style. Like, I don't prefer that roller coaster. I try to like minimize my variance of an up and down roller coaster. So, but yeah, that was that. Yeah, but
That's cool,
I'm
man.
good. Yeah, I'm in good spirits though because I was happy that I didn't lose after all being there that night, and then I just woke up happy because I was like I get to like fuck around with you guys. I want to like so I was in a good mood even though I'm on like no sleep, but not good. I feel good though anyway. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Uh-oh.
So,
I think we lost you. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, so I was just looking at my note thing of what I wanted to ask you because something recently that I guess like it kind of gets talked about a little bit. Like I even heard you recently. Well, what did they say to you, Joe? They said something about I don't know, but they were trying to bring up their own story, and it just comes down to like UPG in a sense, unverified personal gnosis, and then it's like
Okay.
and then so yeah, I like to talk about that a little bit because people like when you're going live and you're explaining like whatever your takes are, somebody will kind of just they'll say something, but it seems like it's just kind of like I'm not saying that you can't get your own gnosis, but it seems like they're just kind of grabbing it from like out in the air, like way too out in the air, like
Right.
and then they try to put that stuff on you, like they're trying
Yeah.
to put their beliefs like as if that's what it is to you, and then so I guess that's why UPG gets like a bad name like that because that probably happens more times than not, right?
Yeah.
For
I mean, I don't know if I would say UPG gets a bad name, at least within the occult. In the occult, we know how to respect it and we know how to differentiate between what is UPG and what is uh, verified no VG. But the issue is when people have UPG and they don't want to share how they arrived at that UPG, right? So then it becomes not repeatable and then therefore not verifiable. And they still expect us to go with it. They still expect us to believe them. And if we don't, then we're big old meanies and we're low vibrational and we're still asleep and all this other nonsense. So I don't have an issue with UPG. For example, Mark Allen Smith, who wrote all the Primal Craft texts that I have: Crown Prince of the Sabbath, Altar of Sacrifice, the Altar of Cain, the Scorpion God, the Queen of Hell, the Red King. He wrote all those. That would be considered UPG, right? That's his Atlantean gnosis and all this other stuff. But he put it down in grimoires for people to try it out and practice, and the results have been actually really, really interesting to the point where it's almost becoming verified. So I don't have an issue with UPG. I have an issue when people don't want to share how they arrived at that gnosis, and therefore it becomes and remains unverifiable because they don't want us to know how they got there. They won't share their methodology. Um, And in
Yeah,
my opinion, it's usually not because it's a secret, because there are some things that are a secret, but most spirits, 98% of all spirits, we should all be able to contact. Um, so I feel most of these people won't share their methodology because they don't have one, because they're just making it up. But I won't put that on everybody. But I do think a lot of people who have UPG and doesn't want to share their method on how they arrived at that, it's because they don't have a method because they didn't arrive anywhere. They're just making it up. So,
yeah. Or maybe they like,
um,
kind of heard about it from somebody else, and they're like just kind of relating like whatever story they heard. I
yeah,
guess that's another one. Yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah, yeah, because I
Uh,
see that, and then like, what was that?
oh no, I was just going to ask if Quinn had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, we talked about that the last live we did, how
Yep.
people forget the middle part of UPG, that it's personal, you know. Um, and yesterday I was doing a live where I was pretty much reading from an old topic paper that I wrote while I was in the Golden Dawn, and it's all pretty much like unverified personal gnosis. And then while I was reading from it, I kept saying like, this is all just like indefinite. It's all speculation. There is nothing about this that I would say is like 100% like occult fact. It all of a
Right.
lot of it was just straight contemplation. And like I was, for instance, the judgment card. It has the angel with the banner of the equal armed cross, and I was relating the equal armed cross to the four rivers of Eden, and no, and there's so many different ways to interpret that. So like it's like even though I was contemplating that, like I still had to say like this is just my personal contemplation. Now don't take any of this and then like spread it. Oh, like, oh, this is what this means. Like, no, that's just how I contemplated it. And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of people get caught up with their UPG is they start to profess it so much that it kind of becomes reality to them, uh, and they forget that no, it was just a personal moment of clarity where you start to see things connect in a particular way, but you could find that with so many different things in the occult. So you've got to be careful with it and remember that it's personal and you could share it, but you just have to let people know it's like, this is just my speculation.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's like kind of like when you start putting it on people. I guess that's kind of like a big difference, huh? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that makes sense. That's cool. That's what's up. Yeah, because I guess it has its own place for sure. Because especially for me, I guess because I'm still kind of getting into the formalities of all these things. So a lot of my stuff is mainly like just personal, my mystical experiences or whatever. So yeah, but I don't like I'm not professing. I'm not making statements saying that this is what it is to get to feel this or to experience this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're all differently. Like we're all just how I mean, we all have the elements in us, but we all have different
Yes.
compositions of how much water we have compared to how much fire. Like we know Quinn is probably more fiery than us, probably, and then so maybe the way that he goes through things is different, and and yeah, so yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah, I like what Astro Maestro says. When you do a math problem but show no work. Yeah, that's exactly what a lot of these people who have UPG, they have an answer for the problem, but when we want to know how they arrived at that answer, they don't want to show us the work. So
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, I, I like that you gave that example of that one where like with the books that you have behind you there, and then how like stories come out later on where it's like, oh, like there's actually like things can happen from this. So like it's pretty cool in a sense because it's like you don't necessarily like you never know in a sense like if something is gonna work, and then so it's cool to kind of find out like and like that's part of the fun, like when you
yeah,
kind of get to like kind of dive into there and then see for yourself or not. Yeah. So, I got like I don't really have anyone on my live. Is anyone asking questions over there on your guys's?
Quinn, do you got anybody on your side asking any questions?
No, not much. It's kind of you know, there's not too much going on over here.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, do you hear any like bad feedback when I talk?
Yeah, there is some feedback when you speak. Yeah.
Yeah, how many platforms do you have on, Louis?
I have well, I'm live on TikTok, and then I'm recording the stream on my phone, but we're not. But you guys aren't on it. Um,
Huh, that's
yeah,
strange.
yeah.
Because like I don't get any of that from Joe. I mean, I get it from Joe, but I don't get any from Louis. That's what's tripping me out.
Yeah,
Oh,
it I
I'm
like only
echoing.
hear it when you say more than maybe like four words. So like if you say like a long sentence, then I hear it. But if you just go yes or no or give like a short answer,
Oh,
I don't hear it.
with me,
No, with Quinn.
with Quinn.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like for instance, when you talk, Joe, and if I like mute Louis right now, I don't get any feedback. So that's why I was wondering if there
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, I
if there
wonder
was
if it's.
something that was
That's weird.
messing up on his end.
Huh.
Huh.
I wonder. Sheesh.
Because when you talk,
Let
Louis,
me.
I don't hear anything from Joe's side.
Let me.
Like, cause right now I could hear feedback from myself. And I think it's coming from something on your end.
Okay. Let me end it, and then we'll see right now what kind of experiment here. Okay. Let me.
Bear with us, guys.
I'm gonna get all the way out. Okay. I got all the way out of there. All right. Yeah.
All right. Do you
What's
hear
the
any
echo?
echo, Quinn, from anything that I'm saying?
I don't. I could hear a little bit. That's strange. I don't know what that would be coming from.
Yeah, I still hear it from you too. Wow, yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything plugged. It's just my phone. I don't know.
Well,
All right.
for me with Quinn, it wasn't really that much. It was just like for me, it was just like a baby echo. But you sounded pretty good. I didn't get no delays. It was like barely an echo,
Okay.
but I couldn't really notice until you guys brought it up, and I was like, maybe Quinn does sound weirder than me and Joe, but it's not really like on my side, it was just kind of barely. It was like a slight echo, but there was no delay. I don't know. Yeah, but
Yeah, I have
I'm
deleted
working
the
Interesting.
now.
feedback.
We'll just stay off it now, and then we'll see if it changes. We'll just kind of experiment, you know. We'll still kind of just figuring this shit out too, you know.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh yeah. Let me
Um,
see.
on my side, Denise is asking, what is the best way to start learning about occultism? So for me, Denise, I would suggest, um, oh, sorry, I thought you were saying something. That's probably the feedback that Quinn's talking about because I hear some feedback. But anyway, for me, Denise, I would suggest starting with um, my 5 steps video. I have 5 steps that I suggest people do if they want to get involved with occultism. And that video is only about like 2 or 3 minutes long, but I have a 2 hour video on my YouTube where I break down the 5 steps deeper. But essentially, you want to start learning about the manipulation of energy. So you want to learn how to sense, raise, direct, and release energy. You want to learn about occult correspondences. You want to open your third eye and practice divination. Then you want to move into spell casting and ritual work, and then evocation and spirit work. So those are the 5 steps that I suggest you take. Check out my video on it where I go a bit deeper into it, and then my YouTube where I go super deep into it. Um, Quinn, I don't know if you have an alternative suggestion.
I usually tell people just to first of all, if they're like really new to it, I just tell them just to get whatever book like look up the occult, look up, magic, and like somewhere on Amazon, and just get a book and just read into it, whether it's new age or not. It's just kind of just plants the seed. And the trick is to not take everything you read as law. You want to just take it in and then like go ahead and let that snowball into more reading and more studying. And once you read enough into the occult and into magic and mysticism, that is really what starts to reconfigure your perception of the world. So then, because a lot of the times when people get started into it, their first thing is like, is this real? You know, and you have to kind of reconfigure how you see magic and how you see the world. So when you study a lot, when you read a lot into whether it be New Age, mysticism, occult, whatever, that will help reconfigure your perception of the universe. And then once you have finally been able to accept that like that magic is it's a particular mechanical thing of the cosmos, then you start going into your correspondences and start reading into the more serious material. I always recommend the self-initiation into the Golden Dawn book because it pretty much from through the grades it goes over like the beginning will go over like your basic astrology, basic hermetic kabbalah, basic tarot, all the very basic things, the planetary correspondences. And through each grade these go more into like the angels and the angelic hierarchies and spiritual hierarchies and so forth according to like Hermetic Kabbalah, and goes more into the tarot and so forth. So it progresses. But this that is a good book because it has everything in a curriculum form. So you are able to kind of take in little by little, and it's all a very comprehensible step-by-step guide onto how to learn all of these little all of these techniques. When it talks about astrology, it starts out small with talking about the zodiacal, signs, and then the next grade it's going to go deeper into how to, cast charts and so forth. So that's really helpful for people trying to get started. But I would say, other than reconfiguring your perception of the universe and how you see magic, a big part is just learning your correspondences. Your correspondences are those are fundamental because
100%.
when you see when you like say for instance um, you see Mars, you're gonna think of war. You're gonna think of activity. You're going to think of like passion to a certain extent. You're gonna see red. You're gonna think cinnamon. You're gonna think ginger. You're going to all of these things that correspond with Mars. You're going to see like Kamael, Samael. You're going to hear Elohim Gibor as the divine name. All of these correspondences that you learn are going to pop up when you see a particular planet, or when you see Saturn, you think of Earth, you think of restriction, all of these things. So that's why correspondences are so important, and then that makes it a lot easier to navigate through pretty much any magical book because they're all going to share usually the same type of correspondences. If not, they will vary. I mean, the differences will vary, but that for sure is a good stepping stone into learning how to work magic.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome
Very
answer,
good.
man.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's like getting in touch with like the different versions of like archetypes. And then because it's like I guess like what I kind of think about is like meditation. And then the one thing that I like the first main thing is like for that I think about is like kind of like clearing yourself because a lot of times like we already have the stuff within us, and even if we know it too or not know it, but the stuff around us, like it could either be like a distraction or maybe some like drama or this and that. And then so sometimes chiseling the stuff outside of us will kind of help us kind of like with like clarity and like clearing so we can be able to think like kind of like coherently to ourselves because a lot of times we could just be bombarded with distractions, right, of whatever sort. And then after that it's I think about like that'll help you with getting to know thyself. And then so with like
Yeah.
getting to know yourself, you get to figure out the different parts and like the different pieces of you, you know. And then so like that's where like the archetypes and the correspondences like go with that, and like that's pretty dope because then later on, say with like even like chakra work, you can use that to figure out the archetypes of that to help you with like if there's something going on in your life, like, oh, you can kind of start pinpointing it. Oh, maybe I need more fire, or oh, and maybe I need to be more in tune with my mind or my emotional side or my feminine side, I don't, whatever it is, right? And then so that's like a good way because it's like a subtle art, you know, like this stuff.
Yeah.
And then so that's like what I'm realizing too lately. Like a theme of mine has been like cleaning more. Like oh my God, like I have to get more organized and I have to clean more because now I'm starting to see that like magic has like this very cleanliness thing to it where like almost like sparkly in a
Purity.
sense. Yes, and then so I'm realizing that to tap into these like whether it's a mind frame, a mindset, and then that's how you can start to like kind of move into the energy of the stuff. Even the mindset needs the clearness, how we're talking about clarity, like meditation. So just how you're gonna have clarity for your mind with meditation, you also want to have cl kind of clarity on your living room floor or your kitchen or your bedroom, wherever, or your altar space. And so,
Yeah.
like clean is also kind of like that's been a theme that's been with me lately too, like just kind of organizing more, and then that way, I know if I do more work like in my practical, you know, in my practical world in my house like that, it's gonna end up transferring like onto when I start to do like more like mental stuff or energetic stuff. It's gonna help me out and stuff. And it'll be quicker. Like my results will be quicker, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Um.
yeah. So I got a question. Like in terms
Okay.
of in terms of like because like in my personal life it's been something that has been it's been a little bit of a thing in terms of like baneful acts, right, baneful works of magic, like in terms of that, in regards to like cleansing and stuff like afterwards, like what do you guys recommend besides like a bath? Is there anything like in terms of like for baneful work that you guys would like think is cool for like cleansing purposes, like when you're kind of, you know, done or towards the end of your thing, like the end of your work?
Yeah. If I don't plan on following it up with like more baneful workings, I'll cleanse right away. I generally cleanse and banish weekly. Um, so whether or not I do a baneful magic, which I don't do often, I banish and cleanse weekly. But if I have to do baneful magic, unless I plan on following it up like right away or like in the next day or two with another baneful working, and so I would like to use that residual energy that's still hanging around, I would cleanse and banish right away. You don't want negative energy just hanging around. It could, cause a lot of problems within your home or wherever you're, doing the ritual. So, yeah, I would cleanse right after the working, unless you are doing another working that's malefic in short order. So,
Hmm. Good
Mm,
to know. Good to know. So
yeah.
you do.
That's a good point that he put out there because someone asked me around the same. They're talking about cleansing, and I also said it depends on the nature of the work, because you don't always cleanse or banish after a work, depending on what you're doing. And like Joe said, if you plan on doing a follow up, you're not going to banish that. So when I did my latest video on my that ritual that I showed, um, it is malefic work, and it lasted for 8 days. And so I would always clean when I walked into the temple room, but I didn't at the end I wouldn't cleanse and I wouldn't asperge and I wouldn't suffumigate. I kind of let it sit there. But at the same time, you got to remember that not everyone works within the ceremonial or Solomonic structure. So
Yeah.
a lot of the working that I am doing, there's a lot of like the jar that I had was surrounded by particular sigils and surrounded by particular god names and so forth. So there's a lot of types of constraints or leashes I would see them as within my workings to kind of keep them kind of keep the work constrained in a particular area until I send it out. And when I send it out, that's when I you know, I bury the jar and I have a little thing for that. But then that's when I do the final, like when I close, I'll do the asperge and the suffumigate. So yeah, it depends on the nature of the working, and just like Joe said, you know, sometimes those baneful workings can go. If you are really doing a real strong one, they could go for a few days. And reading into like your more popular conjure workbooks, it usually talks about doing certain, not even just baneful workings, but also you know, healing works and stuff like that. You're usually doing those for about a week. You know, 7 days is kind of like that sweet spot because that's the whole week and you know, the 7 days that it took to create the earth and so forth. So that's kind of like the sweet spot of doing a ritual for that long. They don't always have to be that long, but you know, depending on how strong I want it to be, you know, I'll usually aim for a whole week.
Nice. So after the whole, after however many days, then that's when you typically will shut it down like that with with the full cleansing thing. So it
Yeah,
depends a little bit on like the actual version that you're doing. And
Yeah.
then and
yeah,
Joe,
yeah. It depends on the nature of the work.
and then you do like a also like a regular one, how you're saying, Joe, like just in general, you do kind of like how like there's like a like more of like a maintenance, like kind of like in the theme of maintenance, right? Like a weekly
Yeah.
maintenance version, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every week I banish and cleanse. I reinforce my shields and my wards. Yeah, I kind of call that spiritual maintenance. Yeah, keeping, keeping my spiritual, faculties up to snuff and things like that. Definitely, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely important. That's definitely important too. Yeah. Like a little bit earlier, they were asking about like some tips or some, some like input on like for like beginning or like just getting started and stuff like that. And I remember
Mhm.
before each one of us, all of us or you guys have talked about ancestors like kind of like it's pretty good and pretty cool, especially like it's like a nice way to get you kind of like started with like these different types of like venerations and like connections and connecting and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
and so like lately that's been like a theme throughout the weeks too that I've been having in terms of like the importance of this. And then so I don't know, Quinn, even you went the other week. I don't know, I saw I don't know if it was a live maybe or a video, I forgot. But like you have you have two different sections in your room. You have like a section right for like ancestors and then a section that's like non-ancestor related, right?
Yeah, I ended up since I'm in the, you know, I was in the process of packing. I ended up, you know, kind of integrating my ancestral altar with my altar for Hecate and also my spirit jar. And it really clicked. Sometimes when you do stuff like that, like you'll get this like knot in your stomach, or you'll get this like feeling that like it's not working or doesn't mesh well, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much a good sign from the spirits that like, yeah, don't do this. Go try a different way to, you know, go about it. If it's nagging at you, then you know, like, all right, then this isn't the way to go, because that is usually the common communication you'll get from the spirits that you're working with. It'll just be something that pesters you.
Mm.
But when I put my deific altar of Hecate, I put my ancestors and my spirit jar all on the same table. It like it seemed like they all were pretty cool about it, especially Hecate being like, she who walks the grave, and I have my ancestors, deceased chthonic spirits, and then I also have, my spirit pot of a goetic spirit. It's all very chthonic and, on the more darker side. So it seemed to really resonate really well with each other. But as you were talking about, yeah, I used to keep them separate, just because I wanted them to have their own thing. But after putting them all together, it actually worked out pretty well.
Nice. That's cool. That's interesting that you said that like you could feel like if it's contrary to that that you could feel like pretty much damn near nagging at you. Like that's pretty cool, man. Like to like see that and to like know that's even a thing. You know,
Yeah.
that sometimes they can be particular or it can be a particular situation and then so yeah. So they will let you know. Yeah. That's something that I've been what was that?
Oh no, I just agreed. It's a very subtle thing that you'll feel. But like it's just one of those things that, yeah, you'll feel it in the pit of your stomach that, like, yeah, this isn't right, or something that it just feels off. So that's when you know that, like, that's really just the spirits talking to you in a particular way, that, like, that's just how to, the easiest way to communicate. You know what I mean? Through your emotions and through your psyche.
Right on. Yeah, because I, it's a trip how like you'll like they will let you know, and like that's why lately I've been like, oh, the ancestors is like really truly a thing, because it's like
Oh
now
yeah.
I'm starting to pick up the subtle clues of like how they let you know, and like even if you try to think you're going in a certain direction, sometimes you get it's not like you get pulled the other way, but it's almost like obstructions get put in there, and like they're letting you know, like no, like this is like we're gonna keep putting like almost like obstructions in here because this is not where like the general where you're supposed to be going. So it's like a trip how that works. I'm just getting hip to that, you know. Yeah, there's like some kind of connection in terms of like very earthly stuff that we have with our ancestors, which makes sense because we came from them, you know. So yeah,
Yep.
it's a trip, man. It's a trip. Yeah, like that's more newer to me, but I'm seeing just how valuable it is. And so when I heard people talk about answers before, I was like, oh yeah, like that's cool. But now I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of see it like on a more like a more deeper and valuable level now. I'm like, oh my God, like I take it more seriously now than I did before. Like definitely, like way more serious.
Good, man. You
Yeah,
should.
yeah,
They're the
yeah,
closest spirits to us, so
Hmm.
yeah. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Yeah, even how Quinn was saying too, like the emotions will let you know, and like you know, or like the pit of your stomach and this and that. Like it reminds me because that's why I was asking about the whole cleansing thing because I remember some like a while back ago I was telling it was me and Joe were talking about I was doing this working and I had forgotten like a step, right? I had missed a step and I had to like I freaking left work and I came back home to finish my step. Like I had to drive back home because I felt like not right. Like I was like I feel like kind of
yeah.
fucked up. And then when I did do that and I finished my steps, then after that I felt better. I was like, oh my God, like okay, like I got it off me. You know what I mean? It's almost like I still didn't complete whatever I was doing, so I had the stuff on me. And I was like, wait, I have to finish this. Like there was like a part that I had missed, and then so like that stuff's a trip. Like you have like the protocols make a difference, you know, because yeah, especially with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever like, how, like, when you're singing along with a song and then you get the words wrong, and it just and you in the pit of your stomach, you feel like, yeah, it just messed up the whole flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much like that. And then like you're like, oh, like how can I fix this? Like you just want to try to fix it, or try to kind of track it back or like trace your steps or whatever like that. And so yeah, man, it's like work, like it's like a type of work. So you gotta like freaking make
Yeah,
sure you do the job right. Like it's like some people like you like try cleaning up a house, right? Like imagine you're doing spring cleaning, right? And then so you gotta have clothes in your closet and all these other miscellaneous things, and so you have the intention of cleaning up your house and organizing and getting hella trash out. But what if like you end up making more of a mess because you just dumped hella shit out in your hallway and like you didn't really kind of finish the job. Like you kind of put some shit away, but you ended up just kind of just moving stuff around and it didn't really get like clean. Like you just kind of like it's kind of like that. It's like I don't know, like you got to kind of finish off the job, like really
yeah.
organize it, stuff like that. Yeah, especially because with that you're gonna be feeling the garbage if that's what you had put out or whatever. Yeah. So I guess I'm curious in regards to like energy stuff, because that's important too. And like in regards to like shielding and like mirroring, like what are some like tips that like you guys got? Because like for me, like I guess I do my versions of this, my interpretations of this, but it's like hard for me to explain. Like I don't know. Like I think it would be cool to have you guys give me your 2 cents on this because I know you guys could probably be a lot more articulate than me in regards to explaining that. What do you guys think about like yeah like how would you guys explain that to someone like tips and like beginning things for like shielding and like mirroring concepts for energy?
Um, so I'm not sure what you mean by mirroring, but shielding. So protecting yourself and like your home shielding and warding and things like that. My first tip would probably be to do it as often as you can. When you are just beginning, I would probably do it every day. I've been doing it for 20 years and I do it once a week. So when you're just beginning, I would probably do it every day to make sure that your protections are up to snuff. If you want, you can, devise a talisman or an amulet or a phylactery that can be used for protection. Mojo hands and sachets, which are herbal bundles that you can carry around to boost that. Also, talking to your ancestors and other sort of guardian spirits or protective type spirits that you might have agreements and pacts with, you can ask them to provide protection. Some of them will actively protect. Others will just, add an extra like shield or a ward to you or your place of business or home or whatever. Um, so yeah, those are some of the tips that I would probably tell someone who is a beginner. I would suggest getting books like Protection and Reversal Magic by Jason Miller. So you can learn how to shield and ward and do other methods of protection. There's also, as laughable as she is in the general occult sense, Silver Ravenwolf does have an interesting book called Silver Spells for Protection, which some of those are pretty good and can be utilized to help, shield and ward. Also, Maya Ohm has some interesting shielding techniques in her books on manipulating energy. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion for someone just starting out with like shielding and warding and stuff like that.
Nice. Hell yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I
Um,
didn't know. Yeah, go
Go
Quinn. Go
ahead.
Quinn.
No, I was going to expound upon that because um there's like two big topics that you hear in witch talk. It's curses and hexes and then protection. Um and the funny thing is that when I think of having to protect myself, it's never really about like from other people. I'm not really worried about other people trying to curse me, and good luck to them if they want to. The first and foremost practical sense of protection is to display yourself and portray yourself to the world in a kind manner. Don't you if you're not a dick, if you're not an asshole, then there's a good chance that no one's gonna try and curse you unless they're just trying to experiment and see what they can do. Um, but other than that, when I think of protection, it usually has to do with because when we're doing spirit work, we're usually kind of opening the floodgates per se. And sometimes you could things will get attracted. You're like a light bulb to moths. You know what I mean? And things will get attracted. Um, and depending on how you work, those things can linger and they could attach themselves, or they could just like end up leaving, um, a- or not really being attracted to the area, depending on what you got going on. So, for instance, in the structure in which I work, it's a Solomonic structure, as we all know. And it's like 70%, 75% protection and safety protocols. You got the circle, you got the divine names, you got the invocations of God and angelic names. There's so many layers of protection. You got the sword, you got the dagger, you got all these things that like I really don't worry about negative things attaching itself to my home and then having like weird stuff happening, or people getting depressed, or I really don't worry about that because of all of the natural safety protocols that are already within the structure of Solomonic magic. So that's not really something that I truly emphasize, because that's just kind of part of that's just kind of part of the system. You do have certain types of systems and traditions where you're not working with such safety protocols. So you do have people that will, like you said, make little bundles of herbs and make wards and things like that. But those are kind of integral to the system that I work. So it's not something that I really, think like, oh, I need to protect myself. No, it's already there. Everything is pretty much constrained. Everything I do is surrounded by divine names, and there's always prayers and invocations going on in my rituals. So it's not really something that I worry about. But if you don't have all that, then you would have your cleansing baths, then you would have your suffumigations and daily and so forth, and your banishing rituals and all that.
Nice. Oh man, I didn't know it was like such a huge percentage like that. You said like about 70% or something like that. It's like with it's kind of
That
like
was
implemented in there already. Like that's pretty cool,
Yeah,
man. Like
that was just a number. My point was that like there's a lot of safety protocols within
right.
the more magic, so it's not something that I really I trip about too much. Maybe I would emphasize it more if I was trying to evoke a more powerful goetic spirit or something like that, like a spirit that is known to be pretty volatile, then I would probably emphasize it a little bit more and be more careful. But other than that, I really don't. It's not something that I worry about.
Yeah. Well, anything more than like 50% is a lot, is like a huge, chunk of it. So that, yeah, so that's dope. And then, yeah, so, and I can see that wouldn't be something that you're going to be tripping off of per se because of kind of what you're already doing a lot of the time. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So I guess is mirroring even a thing, or is that like a new age? Is that like a new age concept? Like I thought there, like my idea of it was like it's like similar to shielding, but just like a little different. Where like the difference is like with a shield, it's more like just blocking anything uh, energetically in a sense, or like from penetrating, right? And then mirroring would just be like a kind of like in the same vernacular idea or theme of like kind of like evil eye ish. You know how like if someone's trying to give you like some evil eye, but it's just gonna get put back on them. I guess that was kind of like
Oh,
okay. I
yeah.
thought about it. I don't
That
know.
would just be reversal magic, which is the
Okay.
title of the book that I was talking about earlier, Protection and Reversal Magic. Yeah, so I, I guess the term mirroring would be valid, but I feel like that would be more of a new age term.
Yeah,
It would just be
it must be a
reversal
new age
magic.
term then. Yeah, it must be a new age term. Yeah, I mean, like in a
Yeah,
sense, like mirror is kind of like a reversal, kind of like when you wear like a shirt that says polo, when in the mirror it's gonna say Olop or whatever. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But okay, okay, that's good to know. Okay, it's basically reversal. I wonder. I think I have that book. I wonder if I have it on a. I might have it on Kindle. I'm not sure. Yeah, that was
it's
Jason.
really good.
That was Jason Miller, right?
Yep, Jason
Okay,
Miller,
okay,
uh,
cool.
the Sorcerer's Secrets fame. But speaking of authors, somebody in my chat is asking, why do I say Silver Ravenwolf is laughable? Because almost all of her books are written in a very childish way, a very childish tone. She wrote most of her books when she was raising younger witches. Now all her kids are adults, but she wrote those books because she was struggling raising younger witches, so she wanted to write books for younger witches. And so they're fine when you're 13 or 14 and you don't know anything. But the further you dive into the craft and into occultism, the more you'll see that there's a lot to build upon in her works. I mean, even some of her more lauded works like Solitary Witch and things like that. Um, there's a lot to be desired when it comes to her works. So that's what I mean when I say she is laughable. I don't know anybody like I don't know anybody who, say for example, me, a grown man, didn't know anything about magic and I wanted to know where to start. I don't know anybody that would recommend me to go read Silver Ravenwolf. If I was 13, they might tell me to go read Silver Ravenwolf, but you wouldn't tell an adult to go read Silver Ravenwolf as they're starting, or really any point uh, to discuss magic. So
That's a fun fact that you said that. I didn't know about that. That she was like basically catering to literally her younger people. Like, so she was
yeah,
literally like, it wasn't like a literal thing. It wasn't just because that's like something that she liked to do. It was like more like out of a practical reason. I was thinking initially when you had brought that up, like why you said that, or like kind of what it alludes to is that like by and large, like when you first go into like the whatever bookstore, that main bookstore, like that Barnes and Noble or like the whatever your local Barnes and Noble is, that she like Silver Ravenwolf would be one of the main ones that you see. So it's kind of like
yeah,
more
she is.
like mainstreamish. So that's kind of why I thought that it was like that you were kind of saying like that just because she's more mainstream as opposed to
No, there's nothing wrong with being
like.
mainstream. It's just it's super watered down. There's better authors out there to begin with.
Hmm, right on. Freaking what do you guys think about that the High Magic book by Damien Eccles? Like do you guys think that's interesting? Because I one of my friends was asking me about it, you know, because I guess he's he's like kind of famous from the from all his stuff in the past, with his story, so he's kind of
Yeah,
more on the
the
side.
West Memphis Three.
Yeah, there.
I don't know about Quinn, but so I know who he is and I follow him on YouTube, but I don't really watch any of his content and I've not read any I didn't even know he wrote a book. So I have no yeah, I would not be able to comment on his book because I've not read it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I read his High Magic book. Um, I, I I remember. Oh man, I was on a long drive back to Denver from my in-laws, and it was like a 6-hour drive. And I had his book on Kindle, and I listened to it the whole way. And this was right before I started getting like really serious into like getting into practical magic. This was still in my like trying to just learn about it days, and it really pushed me to like be like, oh, okay, like let me. I think I want to do this. You know what I mean? I've been into the occult ever since like I was a little kid. I never did any practical work with it because you kind of you need a job, you need money, you need your own place to really go all out. And so yeah, his book really pushed me to get practical with it. Now
Okay.
looking back at it, it is very it's his own thing. Like for instance, the LBRP, instead of just having the angels at the quarters, he likes to put Sandalphon below him and Metatron above him. He a lot of his stuff is like taking Golden Dawn um, techniques and kind of modifying them to fit his own little style. So his approach is very new age-ish in a sense. There's a lot of visualization, a lot of meditation, a lot of mysticism in there, because he is kind of coming from that Golden Dawn and Crowley approach. So now I really don't. He's not really my style, but I can't take it away from him that his High Magic book did kind of get me started in thinking like, hey, this is something that I am now going to practically apply myself to the occult rather than just read books. So yeah, it's a good beginner book. It's a good beginner book.
Cool, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know what to think because like there's a lot of like speculation and like a little bit of controversy in regards to him. I had did I subscribe? I don't think I subscribed to him, but I had watched. I think I'm assuming this is like when he first started going on YouTube. I had caught like one or two of his videos. Like he was wearing like all black and he talks really calm and like it seems like he works with stuff, but like I didn't know what to think. Like I just didn't know exactly. I just didn't have enough information like to be able to truly feel like feel something out. But I mean, he was interesting, and I just didn't have enough information to really kind of call it out and stuff like that. But yeah, right on, Quinn. That's pretty cool. Pretty good summary
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, yeah.
Just really quick, let me respond to K Dog in my chat. They say I'm 36, but it's my first year in the craft. Thank you. So if it's your first year in the craft, yeah, I wouldn't go with Silver Ravenwolf. Um, if you're interested in witchcraft over like ceremonial magic or something like that, I would go with maybe like Robin Artisan. Some of his books. Go on Amazon and you can look them. There's The Witching Way. There's Letters from the Devil's Forest. There's the Elfing Thread or something like that. There's a bunch of books by Robin Artisan. I would recommend books by Nicolaj de Matos Frisvold. I would recommend books by Andrew Chumbley if you want to get into the more esoteric side of witchcraft. There are other authors out there for witchcraft that I would recommend over Silver Ravenwolf that will give you the basics, but then also take you deep into it. So that would be my suggestion. And hey, Jen, what's going on? Welcome.
I also had a question. I don't know if they're still on here, Return of the Mac, but they were wondering. I hear about this a lot. They'll ask if the doing the LBRP astrally or in the mind's eye is um, is as legitimate as doing it out loud. And someone had replied to them saying that the visualization is more important. I tend to differ on this, even though I know the visualization for sure is very important when it comes to the LBRP, but the intoning of the names and so forth, that the intoning actually has a lot to do with the metaphysics of the ritual. So even though you could do it astrally or utilize the LBRP, believe it or not, the intoning of the names and the vibrations has to do with like some certain like type of like resonance within your own astral body and your etheric body and your nervous system and the resonance into the astral realm itself. So intoning the words is actually a very important component. Um, and people usually wonder this because they don't want to be intoning these loud divine names when they live in an apartment or something like that, because they don't want to be seen as, like they're devil worshiping next door or something like that. But yeah, the intoning is a very important component. Um, so I just wanted to add that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I
Thank you,
remember
brother.
we were even talking about that too. I remember because I was asking similar questions. Like I was like I was just wondering if you even could do that. But then like when you were explaining like the vibration part, and you even mentioned how like here in the front, like under the nose, it's kind of like a sweet spot for like vibrations. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like so true because a lot of great experiences that I've had have been with breath work and then with vibrations that I've had like in my throat and then here too because like for me like I noticed like it's like a weird tickly like there's like a weird tickly-ish thing that happens too that I noticed that can help kind of take you kind of like into like a kind of like a trancey state and stuff like that or like a receptive state. Yeah, so
Mm.
yeah, like yeah, there's something to do it like you know there's something to doing it like all the way like all out, you know what I mean? Like some people like theatrics, you know, some people like the practicality or you know like to be able to touch like you know how different senses and then but for
Yeah.
me I just it's just like everything like piecing it all like that's like what I'm seeing now. It's like it's everything. Like I'm like noticing I'm like starting to kind of figure this out a little bit now like the energy like there's everything in the energy. So like you want to, it's nice to incorporate everything. So that's why it's cool when I see you guys like with your tools and stuff like that, and like in this implementing circles. Like I think all that stuff's like really dope. Like it's really cool. It really has a good like there's like really a place for that for sure. Like I really dig that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I've got a question in my chat. Drake Drakina Drakaina Italia says, "How do you know what path to walk? So many are misled. I'm limited in time due to my age. I want to make sure I utilize the time I have to learn the truth and not foo-foo." So the good news is that within the occult, I'm not speaking for the religions of the world. Specifically within the occult, there is no right path or right way. The purpose of the occult and its various paths are to get you back to whatever you think or whatever that path that you've chosen says God is, or the gods, or the universe, or whatever they call it. And so there is no one right way. There's multiple ways, and you're free to choose whichever path within the occult you would like to walk down. If you prefer, walking the tree of life, then you would go to Kabbalah, right? If you prefer something like the spheres, you would come to Hermeticism. If you prefer, the ladder or something like that, you would go through the various shamanic, practices, and so on and so forth. There's no right way. It's just whatever resonates with you and calls out to you. A lot of people like to be historically accurate and go with what their ancestors went with. So if you want to look into, your ancestry and find out what sort of mystical or occult practices they may have done, you can do that. If you're Italian, which judging off your name, I'm going to assume you are Italian, you may want to look into Stregheria or Strega, and maybe Italian shamanism, Italian witchcraft type of a thing. Um, but yeah, that would be my take on it. I don't think that there is one right way within the occult. There's various ways back to God, but you're free to choose within the occult, that path.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, for sure. I think reading a lot of different sources for sure will help you kind of, siphon through, some things. Like if you just stick to one author or one, type of approach to spirituality, you're gonna kind of live in an echo chamber, So it's best to kind of really just explore at the beginning, and then you're gonna find certain philosophies and theories that will resonate with you more. So you might read one book, like I was talking about Damien Eccles. I read High Magic. I liked it. But as I went deeper into my practice, it no longer really applies to my practice as much as it did at when I very first started. So you know, you just kind of go explore and go read as many resources as you could find, and something will just kind of call out to you, and you kind of yeah, you pull on that string and you follow the thread, and before you know it, you've found a path for yourself that really just that sits well with you.
Hell yeah, dude. Because it's like good to like read different shit because besides knowing what you like and what kind of like you resonate with, you'll also end up reading stuff you're like, oh, this is not the way I want to go. And like so that's also a good thing, you know. So you start to like kind of figure yourself out. And, I'm curious, like I don't know about the Joe when you explained the shaman version, you said like ladders, because I've heard I've heard of spears and like the tree, but did was it ladders that you said for shamanism?
Yeah, there are several shamanic groups that have a similar thing to, the tree of life and walking the Sephiras or ascending through the spheres. But instead of, the tree of life or the spheres, it's a ladder. So you climb, the ladder spiritually, and each rung would represent a planet or the one that I practice, it starts from the bottom and works its way up. So it starts at the bottom, and you have to go through the realm of man first, and then you would go through the elemental realms, and then after those four, you'd go on to the seven planets, and then after that would be God. But as a hermeticist, I would say that there's more out there than just those 11. But yeah, so they look at the ladder just like, I would call the spheres or, the tree of life and their separates. It's just another interpretation of getting back from here, the earthen sphere, back to God. So.
Hmm, cool, cool. Like, what do you guys think about like there's a little bit of stuff like with like shamans and like how you'll hear about like there's like I don't know like there's like a rift or something with like people that are practicing shamanism that are like newer, and then some people that are more like that were in the shamanism traditionally already before. Like, is there like a thing against that? Like, is there like some
Oh
kind of
yeah.
etiquette like that you guys think is important to consider when people are like either claiming stuff or I don't know or saying stuff? Like, well, what's your guys' take on this? You know, because I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So for me, as a shaman, I do my best to give reverence and respect to the people who come from traditional, lineaged, and indigenous traditions of shamanism. So my system is classified as neo-shamanism. Because it is a revivalist or a reconstructionist system, we do not claim any elders. We do not claim any lineage. We are not connected to any sort of indigenous tribe. So those who are part of lineaged and indigenous traditions do not like it when these new modern day practitioners, whether they are actual occultists or new agers, calling themselves shamans without giving that respect. So without using the term neo shaman. I'm sure some don't care, but as a whole, they do take it offensively when people are sort of appropriating that term, and they don't do anything shamanic. They don't do any actual shamanic practices. They just say, "Oh, because I work with energy, I'm a shaman." No, shamans don't just work with energy. There's a whole cosmology and a whole cosmogony that goes with shamanism that most of these newer practitioners would probably never even have heard of. So they do take offense to it, unless you give the respect where it's due. And in my case, it would be labeling it neo shamanism rather than shamanism, because there is no lineage that I can harken back to, or there are no elders that I can claim connection with. Not sure how Quinn would see it.
Um, so when it comes to like shamanism, I usually always think of that very old school, like animistic, um, like medicine man, medicine woman, cunning man, cunning woman, type of uh, approach to it, you know what I mean? And of course, your like spirit journeys and your shamanic travels and stuff. Um, it's what I practice is it was said um, that Solomonic magic and the way that it works is it has ties to shamanism because of the certain type of like fasting and seclusion and the trance states enabling interactions with the spirit realm, and so it has characteristics of shamanism in it for sure. But to me, it's not exactly the same as you'll see with those who come from shamanic traditions that stretch back generations, and they will have like particular dances and chants that that are incorporated into the rituals for spirit interaction. So I even though what I practice has certain qualities that relate to shamanism or that kind of reflect those techniques. I don't consider Solomonic magic as shamanic, as even though there are some authors that do. Um, so, so since that's not really my wheelhouse when it comes to other people talking about it, it's just kind of one of those things I really don't I don't put any mind to. I don't disagree or agree. You know, it's not real. I'm not really in the place to say whether someone is that's what they are or that's what they're not. You know what I mean?
For sure. Right
Excellent,
on.
brother.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Yeah, because it's like I remember even when we were talking last time, Quinn, and we were talking about the LBRP, and you were like enunciating, you were like intoning these names, and I was just getting the vibes too. I was like kind of giggling or something because I was like, oh man, like that's such a shamanic kind of a thing to it, like where you can kind of feel the energy off of it. It's pretty cool. So like, what would you guys think? Like, so would does do shamans typically, like, if you had to give it like a category, are they more of like a spiritual model based, or like does that even count, or do they just work with a bunch of different things? Like, what do they mainly consider their workings with, like in terms of like a model or something?
If you're talking between the spirit model and the psychological model, yeah, all shamans are spirit model. I don't know any shaman that would give any real credence to the psychological model, being that shamanism is very ancestral, so there are spirits right there. And you have to be in communion with the spirits of nature in order to help with the herbal remedies and concoctions that they come up with for like healing and things like that. So you have to know how to get in touch with totem animals, power animals, spirit guides, and things like that. So you have to know how to, shamanic journey down to the underworld in order to do those types of things, to engage with those types of spirits. So yeah, it's almost a requirement that you would have to be spirit model in order to work pretty much with any classification of shamanism.
Okay, and that sounds cool. Like, and that sounds like obviously like a lot more than like even energy too. So they consider spirits more than energy in a sense, like a little bit more, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know of any shaman that would not consider spirits to be a reality. Like they are conscious, intelligent beings. Now they might not have bodies, they might not, you might not be able to reach out and touch them, but they would not just think that it's just this amalgamation of energy, cute cuddly energy, open your heart space and all this other stuff. They would look at them as veritable entities existing within their own right. If humans were to die out tomorrow, if there was a nuclear blast and it took us all out, the spirits would still be around. So,
Nice, hell yeah. What What do you guys think is like a difference with like a spirit, since we're talking about spirit, well, like spirit and soul, like what do you guys think that like a key difference is, like in regards to that, like maybe from a shamanic perspective or just in general from a cult perspective?
Yeah, that's a cool one. Quinn, do you want to take that one first?
This one's a hard one to really pin down because it's all speculation. Um, but like for instance, I think our soul is what gives us life, and then our spirit is what animates us. Our spirit has a lot more to do with our personality and particular virtues that and qualities of our personality. So, for instance, like the spirit of a cheetah could be seen as being fast. The spirit of a rock could be hard and rigid. So I think spirit has a lot to do more with an essence, while soul has to do with our actual existence within the matrix. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, can
Because
you repeat the part about spirit? I couldn't hear that word that you said. I could spirit with what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that part.
I think spirit has more to do with our essence as people. So like our personalities and so forth, and the things that animate us. I
That's
think that has a lot to do with our spirit. So like soul could have to do possibly more with just the that aspect of our existence that transcends our human condition. But that's just me contemplating and speculating on it because you could even see them as the same thing possibly. So I really have no real take on that.
okay, for sure. Right on. Good stuff, man.
Yeah. So on my side, I do agree that the soul is what gives us life, and the spirit is what animates us. I would say the difference is that humans have souls, right? Humans have that divine spark that comes from God. We are made in the image of God, and that image is the soul. Right. Whereas animals don't have a soul. So animals only have a spirit. Or other beings, right? Angels, demons, planetary spirits, right? Planetary intelligences, spherical spirit. We don't call them souls; we call them spirits, right? These are intelligent energies. These are animated. Uh, I don't know any other word other than energies that we are able to get in contact with, but they do not have that connection back to God in the same way that we do. They are, of course, energeia, like we are. They are of course created beings, but we have that direct connection through that spark that was given to us by God, which is the soul, and no other being has that. At least that we're aware of. Maybe elsewhere out in the universe somewhere, but as far as we can see and know, no other being has that spark, that divine connection back to God, to be able to not only find our way back to God, but to be able to comprehend and to contemplate, the nature and the will of God and things like that. Um, so yeah, that's how I would answer that.
Very cool. Very cool. Give me a second, guys. I got to take a bathroom break. So you guys hang tight. I'll see you guys.
Sure, sure. No worries. Quinn, do you got any questions on your side that we can answer?
Piggy Bunny. I don't have many people in here. But Piggy Bunny asked, like, what made you establish a practice? Was it for self-illumination or for practical change in life? So, like, for mysticism or for magic, pretty much.
For me, it started out with, being, because I started when I was 13. So it was the practical stuff, trying to get, the cute cheerleader to, notice me, try to pass my, test, try not to get in trouble with my parents, things like that. A good luck spell here and there. But as I got deeper into the occult, most people tend to fall off and they either drop it completely or whatever. But as I got deeper, I discovered the more spiritual aspects of it, the more spiritual nature, the high theurgic nature to a lot of what occultism has to offer. And I discovered that that's the true purpose of all of the mystical, esoteric, and occult practices. The practical stuff, the mundane stuff, getting a girlfriend or getting a new job, those things are great. But like I keep saying, you're going to die one day, and those things are not going to help you, with eternity, right? So as I got deeper into it and more into the esotericness or the esotericism of it all, and understanding what's going on behind the scenes, I fell in love with the spiritual nature of it and the soul elevation of it and the getting back to God of it. And so that's what I started to chase, like literally when I was like 20. So while I was in the middle of college, I was like, this practical stuff is great, but one day I'm not going to be here, and I would like the knowledge that I've gained and the practices that I've done to have done something for me when I'm no longer here. I hope that answers the question. Excellent question, by
Yeah,
the way.
we've talked about this before. How it was very opposite for me. How like we
Yeah,
went
yeah,
in
yeah.
reverse directions because when I started getting into occult, it was much more for the mystical side because I was just very curious about life and the cosmos and God and all and spirits and everything like that. A lot of it had to do with dealing with relatives who were fundamentalist Christian, and me and my cousin often debating, at a very young age, like 11, 10 years old, talking about God, and him being like, oh yeah, if you
Wow.
don't follow the word of the Lord, you're going to hell. And then I would be like, so this little Buddha kid, like this, who lives in the Himalayas, who's never come across Western religion, is going to hell now, like. And so it
Yeah,
was just very, it was very perplexing to me as a child to think that, like, oh yeah, if you don't believe in the Bible, you're going to hell. It's like, dude, there's like, this world is huge. There's so many different religions. So like, what,
it's still perplexing
like,
to me.
yeah, and then so that's what got me into the occult and just like trying to learn more about the mystical side. And then not until a few years ago, a couple of years ago, is when I really started getting serious about, okay, how do I apply the things that I've learned through mysticism and metaphysics and all that? How can I apply it to life? Because practical magic, as I got to the point where I was like, okay, I want to learn how to read these grimoires. I want to learn how to open a grimoire and not be so confused
Yeah,
by, I want to be able to look at a pentacle or a magic circle and be like, oh, this is what this means right here. Oh, these names are what this is. And I've gotten to that point now, so it makes it actually like viable to practice for the more mundane things. But yeah, it was very much the opposite for me, for where I got into it through mysticism, and then I got to the point of like, all right, how can I apply this to life and actually, tilt the scales in my favor for particular endeavors within life. So yeah, I always thought it was pretty cool how that the journey is reversed for some people.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's pretty
It's
cool.
it's fascinating. Um, I got one over here from Nan Patty Boys and Doggies. Um, do you believe animals like pets, cats, etc., are sent as part of our growth or guidance? I do not. No, I don't believe that pets are, anything special in the spiritual sense. Um, Not to say that we can't, learn from animal spirits and stuff like that. Of course, in shamanism, they are extremely important, the spirits of animals. But the notion that they're sent to us for that specific reason is a bit determinist, and within occultism, determinism is probably not that popular, if it exists at all. I mean, I'm sure it does somewhere, but yeah, no, they're just animals. Now they have spirits, and you can interact with those spirits, but they weren't sent to you, for that purpose to teach you and to guide you and everything like that. No. I don't anyway. I don't know if Quinn has, an alternative feeling, but I don't think that.
that might be a personal thing. You know what I mean? Someone might love their dog or their cat so much that they have some type of connection with them, and they would like to see it as like a spiritual guide. And if that's how they see it, and that there's certain that pet helps them through life, then cool. But as in being sent to you and to spiritually guide you. Yeah, it really depends. It's a personal thing. Me personally, I kind of side with Joe on that. Um, but either way, it's not wrong. If that's what you believe in, it's not wrong. If it helps you out and it doesn't hurt anyone, and you know what I mean, then okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, I guess this one kind of has like a gray area vibe, I guess if you will. And then I guess initially I do kind of see it like if I had to give a concrete answer, like in a sense how Joe was talking, I would lean to what you guys are saying. Like I don't think so directly, but what I've seen what I've seen like say going to the vet, right, for like their annual checkup or just or for whatever random reason or just going to like the parks, like dog parks or blah blah blah. I noticed that the freaking owners are just like the dogs a lot. Like whether they
Oh yeah,
a lot they physically end up looking like them. Like whether you have a big burly dude, then you have like a burly looking dog, or like a foo-foo dainty man will have a dainty little doggy, and like the mannerisms, right? And then so that's a thing, and then so you can kind of if you realize that your pet is similar to you, I guess you can learn from them in a sense of I think about like kids, like how your kids are offsprings of you, and then you'll see like their good traits and their bad traits. And then so
right,
like me, I've learned that like I had to learn a lot about like patience, like through my offspring, I saw that like, oh my God, like there's hella times where I need to like rein in my patience and stuff like that, right? So then I
right.
learn about that, and then like uh I have a dog, and like I don't think he necessarily is here to guide me like that, but what I do see is that like I have this funny wild side to me that has to do get tamed because I see that from my dog, and then I notice that I'm like, oh
Yeah,
wait, I think I have something like that. And then so that's what so it's good to like learn from life like that. So there's stuff you can learn, but directly, I don't know about like directly guided. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a gray. It's a kind of a gray one, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I don't want people to get it, confused. I'm not saying that you can't learn from your pets and like animal spirits and stuff like that. They are important in shamanism and folk practices and stuff like that. But for something that doesn't have a soul to be sent to you for a reason, I don't know. That's very determinist or very, you're the special one and I'm going to give you this, and I don't know. I have a hard time with that. It's sort of like the whole familiar thing. There's a lot of novice witches who think that their pets are their familiars when familiars are not given to you in that kind of sense. They don't just show up. You have to ask for them, right? And then when you ask for them, then they are presented to you by another spirit. They don't just randomly show up. You request them from another spirit, and the spirit provides you with a familiar. So I I have a hard time with things like like that. So
yeah. I didn't know that too, what you just explained, like there's like a format like in regards to that. Like there's like if you want to get into that kind of thing. It's good to
yeah,
know.
yeah. It's not you just go to the rescue and because you and Spot have a connection and you do magic, Spot is your familiar. No, I mean that sounds cute and all that, and it sounds nice and it's nice to think about when you're laying with your pet or whatever. But that just because it feels good and it's nice doesn't make it real, or doesn't make it valid, right? A familiar is a spirit, not an animal. It is a spirit that is given to you by a higher spirit to assist you in your magical journey. Um, Not the pet who likes to sit, by you when you're, casting a circle. That's cool and all, but doesn't make it your familiar. So, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see that. Yeah. What do you guys think of like if I can ask about coagulation? Is it like it's like a spiritual alchemical thing? Is that a thing that you guys is that a thing like to you
Oh,
guys or what do you guys think about that?
You mean solva et coagula?
I guess like I heard about it. God, what was I reading? Fuck, what book was this? Fuck.
Probably something alchemic.
Yeah, I don't know if it was to do with like I forgot if it was one of those something in regards to Lucifer. It was either that or I
Lucifer,
forgot where,
Luciferian? Let me
but it
see.
was like, but I guess how they were explaining it, it was just like in terms. I think it was like for your spirit, like like there's that whole thing of like purifying your spirit or like kind of like merging your spirit, like kind of deifying your spirit. Like, is that regards to that, or am I off?
Well, so I don't practice alchemy, but from what I understand, it's breaking down or um, dissolving and then coagulating for alchemical components. So that way you can break them down to their base um, form, I guess, their base material, and then I wish Alchemic Mason was here. He'd be able to explain because I don't do alchemy. But and then I think you like mix it with other things to make something else. If I
Mhm.
recall correctly, Quinn, if you know alchemy, please correct me. But I
Um,
think
I,
that's how it is.
I don't know a crap ton about alchemy, but like if we're
Okay.
talking like spiritual alchemy, so the coagulation happens after. So like when you go through initiation, you're pretty much stripping away certain layers of yourself. So just like in alchemy, when you're like when you're making a spaghetic or something, or you are like burning it down to ash, and then that ash it becomes like the essence of it, and then you mix that ash and and then you mix it with other things like the alcohol, and then it becomes like a tincture and so forth. And so that tincture then has an essence. So in like spiritual alchemy, there's a lot of like you're going through these grades of initiation or self initiation, and you're stripping away certain layers, and then you're kind of uh, reconfiguring yourself after you strip it all away. So that's why, like, when you're going through initiations, you tend to come across a lot of different points in life that are very trying and a lot of trials and tribulations. And those are to kind of like make you it's to put you up against problems and make you rethink things through a different lens. And so you're stripping away all of these predetermined expectations of what should happen and how things should be. So and then you're able to look at things through a different perspective. And then once you have stripped away these expectations and these predeterminations, and then you recoagulate, and then you become something else. So that's a huge thing within initiations in spiritual alchemy. You strip yourself of those things that you once were, and then you rebuild yourself into a new person. That's why there's this whole thing of death and rebirth in a lot of initiations.
Mm, wow, very cool. Well said, man. Wow, good shit. Yeah, because I've heard about that, but I just wasn't sure. Yeah, I just wasn't sure about the.
Uh,
Sorry, I was trying to track back this thing. I was curious about you were talking about this recently, Joe. You had mentioned I never heard about this, but like I guess like there's like four tenets of witchcraft, and so one of them is like it's like to know, I guess, and then well, what are the other ones? If you could explain a little bit about that, I thought that was pretty interesting because I hadn't heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a more modern thing. It doesn't exist in traditional witchcraft, at least from what I understand. But yeah, so there are four tenets of modern witchcraft. It's to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent, right? So I brought this up when I was talking about occult conspiracy theories and how they were saying how these celebrities are out doing rituals in public and they're on stage doing rituals and oh, Astro World was a sacrifice and all this other nonsense and I was trying to relay that they would be break like they can't be witches and then break all the rules of witchcraft. Like that doesn't make any sense. If they're witches, then one of the rules of witchcraft is to be silent. So doing public rituals that's not being silent. That's actually yelling to the entire world, "Hey, look at me, do this ritual." So it wouldn't make any sense for these celebs to be on stage doing public rituals at the Super Bowl and at their concerts and all this other stuff that are being live streamed on YouTube and TikTok, by the audience and stuff like that. It would make it not silent. It would make it not private. So they'd be breaking the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah. So it's to know, to will, to dare, and to be silent. But that's like a modern thing. Probably came on the scene around Crowley's time, of
Okay.
being popular. So the late 1800s, early 1900s. So
So, interesting. Yeah, because it's like I think you were even saying like I think it was today or but it's like it kind of makes sense that if these people were saying some like stuff that was like for real like that that they would get murdered or xed out, then like how come like David Icke is still like running around like when he'll have an assembly, he'll have a whole thing of God knows how many thousands of people in a thing, and then and there's other people like that too. It's like how come they're like running around like that? Like that's something that kind of hit me, and I was like, dude, that one
yeah,
really kind of it makes a lot
I
of
would
sense.
I would urge people who are into occult conspiracies to do a comparison. Look at who you think the government has killed, or had a hand in taking out. Look at who they are and look at what they supposedly exposed, right? And then go look at the people who you're accusing of exposing things, and you realize that they're not dead. Look at what they're exposing and compare the two, and then maybe ask yourself why, right? Maybe because one actually has implications and could really damage careers, damage lives, like child nonsense, fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, murder for hire. Those are some real things that people are really out here getting taken out for. Or so and so's a witch. So and so's in the Illuminati. So and so, like look at what's being exposed and who's dying, and then look at what's being quote unquote exposed and who's not dying, and compare the two. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's a trip how the occultic thing gets kind of scapegoated. Like though, like it's a convenient thing to scapegoat, and then it's like, and then it adds a lot of confusion once you get onto like the social platforms. Like because
yeah,
you'll see so many videos of all this different stuff, and then it's easy to believe because a lot of the people putting out those things, maybe they'll have so many followers or it'll get so much like traction,
yeah,
that it could be easy to freaking really start uh, buying into that stuff, and
that's true, man. It's
mm,
It's insane. I did a 4 hour, as I was telling you guys when we were about to film the podcast earlier today. I did a 4 hour live stream on Wednesday, and the only reason I stayed on for 4 hours was because we were talking about occult conspiracy theories, and these people were throwing out the wildest. It was insane what people believe just because it's on YouTube and a celebrity goes like this or a celebrity does this, the accusations that come, it's insane. And so I did a 4 hour stream debunking it all, trying to get people to see logic and reason, which shame on me, because people don't see logic and reason. Um, but
It's always the same. It's always the same culprits too. It's always like Baal, or it's always Moloch, or it's always Satan, and it's the
yeah,
devil, and it's always the same Lucifer. It's always the same culprits. It's never anything beyond that, and
yep,
it's just funny.
Paul is a
I
super
highly doubt any of these people actually look into the actual history of Baal and being the storm god, and Moloch being most likely coming from Malek, meaning king, which had to do with Baal Malek, and all the, and then Satan really just meant adversary, accuser, and it was more just the person, the accuser of those, like, hey, how much faith do you really have in God? I'm gonna prove you wrong, and things like that. Wasn't as much of a evil figure as some like to portray a lot of these, these, uh, you know, figures of antiquity of like in God and the devil and stuff like that. So it's like they take a very basic surface level understanding of these deities or and so forth, and then they apply it to all these conspiracies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
100%. It's insane. It
yeah. And
is
it takes
it is
also.
insane. Yeah, Jen is saying that she got into it with a woman about how mudras are not demonic gang signs. Yeah, because this is used by the blood gang. And I'm sure there are other signs that gangs might use that deal with occultism and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's crazy.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Demonic gang signs. That's so good. But when they say, because in I've been reading lately. What it's right here. This is one the Book of Abrasax, and here they
Okay.
were talking about Michael Chittatelli. You actually recommended it, Joe, and
Yeah.
yeah. See, you got the hard. Um, when they talk about signs, because I'm in the early part of this one, like when they talk about signs, like what does that mean? Like, is this like just like is this hand signs or like what does that mean? I haven't gotten there yet.
So that one in the Book of Abraxas is a little dubious. So I don't know how deep I was. So Michael Chittatelli, mm, he he's involved in gang life, and he's in prison right now. He went to prison
Oh,
for it already, and then he got out. And when he wrote the Cross Keys during the introduction, he claimed that it was all behind him. He gave it all up. But then a couple years ago, him and his uncle were caught, and it was determined that he was the leader of the assassination arm of Los Zetas, I think, or one of
yeah,
the Mexican
Yeah.
cartels. I think it's Los
yeah,
Zetas, but
yeah.
I may be wrong
That's
on
a.
that.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, and so in the book he has, and I hope I don't get in trouble from for promoting gang signs, but he had something called the coronastrum right here, where he shows the hand sign right here,
Yeah.
but this is actually a gang sign. Um, Now he makes claims that it is supposed to be, the
And this.
pentagram and a bunch of other stuff, but that. But it is actually a gang sign. It's like on the FBI
Yeah.
website and everything.
They
So it's a little
they adopted
dubious
a lot
with
of that.
that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
They adopted a lot of that. Like, so if you look into like when it comes to like the whole peoples and the folk nation like organization, they a lot of the things, the symbolisms they have is kind of occultic to the point that where they will have like certain numbers represent things, certain points in the star represent certain things. So it's not occult, but it's like the whole kind of they use the same type of they fashion symbols in the same manner where the with each symbol represents something. So it's not a cult, but they use some of the same techniques to hide a lot of their like sayings and
Yeah,
things that they live by and so forth. But yeah, that whole 5 star nation thing like that, yeah, that's for sure the gangsters within that area um, or within that faction have adopted that, but it is I don't know what the mudra is supposed to if that's an actual mudra or not.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
And sorry to interrupt. So I got about 20 minutes left, and then I got a hard stop. So
Yeah,
just to let you guys know.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have to. I'm in that same thing, maybe slightly because well, one, my battery, but two, yeah, I gotta go to. I gotta take everyone to lunch over here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
but
got people
roughly
over
on
here
the.
waving at me that so I got about 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah, yeah. What was I getting? Yeah, because Quinn a little bit earlier, we're talking about like this scapegoat stuff and like how Baal gets popular. You said Moloch and Lucifer is. It's like a trip because like just recently, like I started like reading more about Lucifer and stuff like that, and then I got the rights of Lucifer, which I started. It's like super cool. I like it a lot. Um, like I have a yeah, like I have a yeah, like a nice connection with that. And but when I hear about like rights, because I've been hearing about this too. Like what do you like? What does that mean? Like can you guys explain that to me? Like what does it mean? Like the rights of something, like rights.
Yeah, it's just a ritual.
Yeah.
Ceremonial rites. So like a ceremony is pretty much a compilation of multiple rituals. So like within a ceremony, you'll have certain rites, like the rite of purification and rite of consecration and rite of invocation. So all of these little fragments of a ceremony are rites.
Okay. So hence why it sounds similar in terms of base to ritual. It's like another kind of like off that.
Yeah. It's like smaller rituals, and then when you
Yep.
when you have a whole bunch of these rites put together, it becomes a ceremony.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, because that's why they have like the different masks and like the different rites, and then so it's like
Yeah.
compiling all of them. Okay. Hell yeah,
Yep.
dude. Good shit. Um, Like earlier, you said Joe, you said the Zetas, right? Like the gang, right? And then like, because I remember I knew I
I
heard of
think it's
that,
Los
right?
Zetas. I think
Yeah,
it's Los Zetas.
yeah, exactly. You know, you're right because I remember hearing that. Remember that show Gangland? I don't know if they still have that. Did you guys ever watch that Gangland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember that's where I heard it. I'm pretty sure. Like, I didn't see all the episodes of that series, but I saw a good chunk of them, and I remember hearing that
Sorry.
word.
It was the Latin Kings. According
Yeah.
to justice.gov, it was the Latin Kings that he
Yeah.
was the leader of the assassination arm for the Latin Kings.
Okay, cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Who were the Latin
That's why
Kings
they do
were on that show?
the 5 point thing.
Yeah.
Oh
Correct,
yeah.
Quinn. The 5-pointed star.
Yeah, because they're part of a certain. When you're talking about like those Midwest gangs, like in that area, they have the peoples and then the folk nations. I don't want to go too deep into that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I believe the folk nations is 5 star. I don't know. That's not my wheelhouse, but yeah, there's two different. There's two different nations to that, and then they have like the 6 point star. Some will have the hexagram, and some will have the 5 pointed star.
Yep.
It is. So, yeah, like the Latin Kings, that's East Coast, right? That's more New York, right? I think
I
the
mean,
Latin.
I'm sure that I don't study gangs or anything like that. I'm sure they've got outfits everywhere, but the one that he did govern was the East Coast. It says that he led the Latin Kings' criminal activity in the Eastern region and held the title of Supreme Regional Overseer for the East Coast.
Damn.
He would be the liaison between the East Coast and Chicago. So
Oh, wow. They're pretty
Yeah,
big.
he supposedly had like mafioso connections as well.
yes, his uncle was a member of the Boston mob. Yep.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they actually got arrested at the same time. So like they like
Wow.
went after his uncle and him at the exact like same day, everything.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I don't need no gang problems, so we can not talk about that. I don't need any gang showing up at my doorstep. So
Yeah, they're the yellow and black, I guess, colors. I remember that. They're the yellow and black. What?
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. It's yeah, just something that I remember because it was different than on the West Coast. But yeah, it's a trip because I remember hearing there's even like in Mexico, like there's a cartel like called the Templars or something like that. Like it's a trip. Like, do these gangs take names from like occultic groups? Is that like a
Oh
trend or
yeah.
something like that?
I mean, so I don't know about names, but I know that they are not all of them. I can't say that, but a lot of them are engaged in occultism, where they venerate Santa Muerte, or they might venerate certain issues that deal with thievery or criminal activity and things like that. There's actually a really good movie it's on Hulu with Shia LaBeouf, and I forget the name. the the Protector or something like that,
Yeah, I know
where
what
he
you're talking
plays
about.
a bodyguard to a cartel sort of a thing. And there's this one scene where they go to war with this other cartel gang guy. And in order to ensure that he gets the win, he goes to a Santa Muerte devotee. I don't know exactly what they practiced, but he went there and he brought a sacrifice, which was a person. And, they killed her and they took her blood and they poured it all over, the altar and everything like that. And they did the ritual to like ensure that when he came to the US to kill Shia LaBeouf and all the other people, to take out their side of the gang, that it would be successful. So he
Hmm.
bathed in the blood and had all the symbols written on him and on the ground, and the witch was saying all the words and all this other stuff. So I mean, I'm sure it doesn't go exactly like that. Obviously, it's dramatization for Hollywood, but that's a good depiction of what they
Yeah,
do in order to ensure that their criminal activity doesn't get seen by law enforcement. So.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you were talking about that, and I was watching something on Griselda Blanco. You know, the whole like cocaine cowboy lady and like
Oh yeah,
Miami and stuff. And
La
when they
Madrina.
were, yeah, when they were going across to their like when they were doing raids on a lot of those houses, they were finding a lot of like cauldrons that you would see in like Polomayombe, because they'd find cauldrons with like days and like human bones in them and stuff like that. So of course the media is like, oh, they're worshiping the devil and stuff, and it's like, no, it actually goes deeper than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Denise is
Yeah,
saying brujeria, shamanismo, curanderismo, etc. Nice, nice.
yeah. Like I remember seeing that on Gangland too, because like they have their patron saints for that for stealing, and then so they like honor and they worship their saints for that stuff to kind of for their cartel stuff. Well, I even have a story, a bit of a story that's like that was like in real life. So like every year, we go at least once, but probably twice a year. We'll drive to Baja, and then we have like a family house that's over there in the kind of by Ensenada, so in the middle of Baja. It's really nice, like literally like right at the beach, pretty much, yeah, like pretty much at the beach, and it's like a gated community type of thing, right? This and that. And what happened about like last year is that the cartel had started having a war with like the security people at that community, at the family home community, and then they killed several of the guards that we had.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah, and the reason why that place was like a hot spot because it's right by the water, and like because it's like a secluded like a resident like a gated kind of a place, not that many other public people get in there, but it's like a very good spot. Like if you have boats and you're trying to drop off like drugs and this and that, it's like a perfect spot. It's like a
Oh
perfect
yeah.
jam because it's like we have like our private beach area, so it's kind of like private. So if you can get in there from the water, it's like easy money to dump off all your shit. So that's why they finally figured it out. The It's like a newer cartel. I forgot what they call themselves, but they're like the newer generation of the cartels, and they're the ones because the older cartel they were
That
cool with
actually
them.
might be their name. There is a new cartel called the New Generation Cartel, so I
Yeah,
think that actually might
yeah,
be their
yeah,
name.
yeah. No, yeah, that's them. Yeah, so those guys were the ones that got into it with the security people from our little family home gated community. And so this was
Damn,
about a
dude.
year. Yeah, so they killed some of them, and it's a trip because when I would be over there chilling by the beach, I would see some people like it was almost like they have like young kids or like not a kid but like a young teenager. They would have them out there waiting for the shit. So it looks like if a
Oh
teenager's
yeah,
out there, whatever, right? But they'll have like these young teenagers working for them too. And then
yeah.
one day I see them out there, I'm like, what are they doing out there? But I'm not gonna go and walk up to them type of thing. But like one day I was like,
Watching.
I'm
They're
like,
watching and
why are
giving
they hanging
signals.
out? Yeah, I'm like, why are they hanging out there? Like, because I know that those people, you could tell they look like they didn't belong in the gated community where we were at. Like, you could just tell that they didn't belong in there, type of thing. And I'm like, huh, I wonder what this is about. And later on, I heard stories, and thank goodness that we weren't there at the time. And then what they did in the last year ever since is like they buffed up all their security. They got like they enhanced like these their gates and all. Like they did everything super up. And then even for a while, they had the army over there, like the army was over there for months. and then the army just finally left because I think it kind of calmed down. But the army was there for a while. Where when we went last time, we saw them, and we would give them like food just to kind of like support them. We would like give them like sandwiches and drinks and snacks and stuff like that, just to kind of keep them, to let them know that we support them and that we're thankful for them for watching out, because we know at any time that that new generation cartel could probably go over there and start doing what they've done. Because like the newer people, always have more to prove. Like the younger people have more to prove in a sense, I guess. They have more of a chip on their shoulder. And so that's why more shit can escalate, because they weren't like the older cartel. The older cartel was kind of more like, I don't know, like they had I guess a type of a trust or a type of a knowing that they had already. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a recent story. Yeah.
Damn, man, I'm sorry, but I'm glad you guys weren't around there and
I
weren't
know.
caught up in all that.
I know,
Yeah.
totally. Because our house was, because like you have to get in, you have to click through the little gate, and then every time you walk by a guard, like, or the guard will ask you, "Oh, so what are you here for?" Like they'll ask you or this and that, or they'll let you in if they recognize your face. And literally from their post to our house is just like, I don't know how many feet, like 100 feet. Like it's not that far. You know what I mean?
Jeez,
So
dude.
we're close to that action, like in theory. But even though, thank goodness, we weren't there at the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
And
that's
the movie that I was talking about, if you guys want to check it out, it's called The Tax Collector,
okay.
with
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf, and David Ayer directed it. So if you're a fan of Training Day or End of Watch or even the first Suicide Squad, David Ayer is the same director. It
Suicide.
didn't do well box office wise. It didn't get good reviews, but it's actually a really good movie.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I never even heard of it. Yes,
Yeah,
gotta check that out.
the tattoo that Shia LaBeouf has on him, he actually got that actually tattooed on him for the
Oh
movie,
wow,
and he actually, in preparation for it, he was hanging out with a particular LA neighborhood called the Harpies, which goes back to I think like the 50s. He was actually hanging out with them and trying to like kind of get the lingo down and everything for the movie. So, Shia LaBeouf, he really tried to do his whole, method acting by actually hanging out with real gangbangers from that movie.
crazy man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. Hell
All
yeah,
right.
dude.
So we about to call it on this one.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
gotta.
I think it's almost wind down time.
Yeah, I gotta go too myself, and yeah, it's about lunchtime, so then yeah, it's on me right now, and so yeah, we got our early breakfast. Now lunch is on me, so on top of that, yeah. But dude, right on, guys. This was very cool shit. Freaking yeah, we gotta keep this up every once in a while. If you guys can freaking
Yeah,
freaking,
man.
yeah, we could do all this together. That'd be so dope, freaking, really cool stuff, really cool stuff. Yeah. So it's
And yeah,
always,
and Louis, if you need help downloading this and like finding it or whatever. Oh, thank you for the roses. Casual peace and love. Just let me know and I can guide you through it, brother.
oh, hell yeah, dude. Perfect. Thank you, dude. Yeah, it's always good stuff, man. I always learn a lot. And then after I talk to you guys, I always feel, well, one, like a type of groundedness, you know what I mean? So that's like what you guys kind of bring. But then two, I don't know, I just feel more like, I don't know, I just feel more expanded. You know what I mean? For lack of a better
Awesome,
word.
man.
Yeah, yeah. And then so, yeah, because I'm in here, I'm doing, I'm learning and stuff, so it's really cool to be able to kind of pick your guys' brains and to be around you guys, and then that way, like even afterwards, like I just feel more in tune with myself, and then and like with the concept of like magic and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So right on, I'd like to thank you guys for
Yeah,
sure.
dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Dude. Well, all
All
right.
right.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
you guys have a good rest of your day, man, and I'll talk to you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All
Oh
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate all your time. Thank you for the likes. 7.9K likes. Appreciate that, guys. And like and follow for more. Go ahead and give Quinn from Man of Madim a follow. Give Louis that 11 of the Uncanny Mystic Minds podcast a follow. And that'll be it for me, guys. As always, seek the mysteries. Peace.
All right. Peace, y'all.